Okay.
Hello friends, we're going to show you how to put together a mosquito vacuum. You want the Ryobi brand dustbuster, and they have two kinds. You want the newer kind that looks like this where the battery goes in the bottom. The old kind looks like this where the battery goes on the side. Not as much suction, not as good, do not buy that. So going like this, simply pop off the original cone and you're left with a nice flat surface. And then you'll take your piping, and it's about 3-inch piping there, I'll check to be sure. And you get a cap, you start with the cap, and then you start with a couple inches of the pipe. And then the cap can screw in right there. If you screw that in those spots, you'll miss the fan inside. I've already opened it up, so you don't have to do that. And then glue your couple inches of pipe onto that cap so it's permanent. I do recommend opening up anyway, because if you don't do anything with the vents, it'll be shooting sideways and everywhere. And if you're in a red box or somewhere where the wind's everywhere, this controls it. Plus, also useful for purposely getting the water or the air to disturb the mosquitoes. Then you can come back and get them.
Yeah, you don't, in the red box, you don't want to, if it blows on the side, all your mosquitoes will fly out.
Exactly.
You want it to blow at you.
And also, while you're in there, you might want to upgrade to LED lights.
Whoa, scary.
And how that works is you go to an auto parts store, Kragen, into their fun, goofy light section, and they have some LEDs. These are flexible LED strips, and these are side firing. So even though you stick them on this way, the light shoots out that way, versus the other ones that just shoot straight out. So you want the side firing, and the wire. This is a double ring. It usually comes in 2 packs, so I used them both. And I built it up. I put it on not the inner pipe, but on the cap.
Right.
Directly on the cap. And then for the second one, I built it up with a little bit more pipe, and then so it can have a double shot. Ran both wires inside the thing. Ran it to a switch, also auto parts store, just a 12-volt switch. And then run your wire along the handle, along with the other wires, and it just clips into where the same battery clips in. So it pulls it separate. So you can have your fan or your light both on the same battery, separate switches, which is very handy because sometimes you want it just for a flashlight, sometimes you don't want to drain the battery, so you definitely want them separate. As far as batteries go, it's sold separately. They come in small and large. They also have the yellow ones. Do not buy the yellow ones, they're cheaper, they're junk. The little ones are great, lightweight, but they drain faster. The big ones are expensive and they last forever, and I highly recommend it. It also has the charge indicator built on, which is nice. That one's good to go. So first choice. Second choice, don't buy the yellow ones at any cost. Okay, so for the canisters, again, a cap, same cap that you have here. You drill a hole. Bigger would be better. I wouldn't go much smaller than this because you need the air to come through. And then for this thing, you have about 8 inches of your pipe. It can be plus or minus. And then this is just a coupler. And then to get your screen on there, super simple. You cut your screen. Just go a little bit bigger. And you, like, let's say that was here's your coupler. You set your screen on, and when you shove your pipe in, that clamps the screen in place. And then, so it's perfectly flush on both sides. No gluing. This has never been glued. It has never come apart.
Yeah.
And you can.
The one thing with that I noticed, we have one canister that it kind of we didn't cut it big enough, and there's a little bit of a gap. The mosquitoes always get stuck in there and die and get squished. You want it like totally flat and with no like beveling, and then no holes in it, like, or it won't work.
Yeah,
it's got to be perfect.
It goes all the way to the edge.
Yeah.
And the length here doesn't particularly matter. This is about 8 inches of the pipe, and it works great, but less or more is fine. Similar effect on the cap screen. You take just 3/8 inch, 1/4 inch of your pipe, just carefully slice a ring off, and do the same idea to shove, push it in, take your screen, put that tiny little ring of pipe all the way in, and then trim your excess afterwards. And that'll be just enough to keep the screen on, but still give you enough cap to stay in place. And just the pipes are so perfectly engineered that the friction fit works good. This little feature is just strapping that has been riveted on just into where that cap ring is, so it doesn't affect the lid. And then it has a little button snap here, which you can get from the fabric store. And then it has the other half of the button on another piece of strapping, like that, on a clip with a grommet on a ring. And the idea here is this can be clipped onto your belt, and you can have 2 hands free, but when you're done vacuuming or your battery's dying, you have that handy just to go.
And trust me, it is very handy because your battery will die all of a sudden, and if you're having to search for your cap, all your mosquitoes are gone by that point.
And
so you want your cap right there, and your hands free, so it's helpful.
And I did a fold over on that part.
Yeah, that's helpful too.
And so it's got a little bit of slack.
So you can snap it off easy.
So when it's hanging down, you can get your thumb in there and just in one hand pop it off. And it's long enough where you can just get your cap on, turn off your thing, and then unsnap it. But you want to keep the mosquitoes in there. So that's that. Plus it makes it kind of fun. You can just put a color band to keep them separate. We made 16 of these. I don't think we've ever used them all at the same time, but it's handy having them.
Yeah.
Side firing LEDs are a must. This was, I don't know, about 18 inches or so. It was just the factory length, and it worked perfectly. I didn't have to cut it, although you can cut them every couple inches. You can also buy them online. SuperBrightLEDs.com is a place to get them. Side firing, white, comes in every color. Glue your pipe into the cap, screw your cap into the back. I used the self-trapping screws, worked well. And just make sure your on-off, when you put everything back together after you're inside, make sure your on-off switch is still there.
And then the glue inside, sealing up all the vents and stuff.
When we put these vents, while we were inside, we did hot glue to seal up all the cracks here. It doesn't have to perfectly matter. And these are just attached with those self-drilling screws again, just from anywhere to anywhere. Just once you're inside, you can see that there's pretty much just empty space, so it's easy to do.
And then the final thing I would say is to make your vacuum last longer, you can put a filter in there. Because remember, this is our second one, because I let the other one get pretty dusty, and it killed the motor.
You do suck up dust because you're removing all the intended filters.
So especially if it's in the morning and it's a little colder, the mosquitoes aren't moving as fast, you can probably get away with putting like a filter just pressing it right into there, and you'll lose just a tiny bit of suction, just a tiny bit, but it'll be worth it because it'll save your vacuum in the long run.
So that's how you build a mosquito vacuum.
Yeehaw.